Hey friends, welcome back to Impressive Learning English. Today I have something super exciting for you. Let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever read a book, studied hard for an exam, or listened to someone's advice, but just a few days later, you forgot almost everything? Don't worry, you're not alone. Forgetting is a very common human problem, but here's the good news. You can actually train your brain to remember more, recall faster, and keep information longer. Almost like building a memory superpower. Think about it. What if you could remember every lesson you study, every name you hear, every new English word you learn, and never lose track of important details? How much easier would school, work, or even daily life become? Pretty amazing, right? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. In this video, I'll share with you 10 powerful and practical tips on how to remember everything. These are not boring theories. You'll get simple tricks and smart habits that actually work in real life. So, if you've ever struggled with a forgetful mind, stay tuned, take notes, and practice along with me. By the end of this lesson, you'll be surprised at how much stronger your memory can become. Point 1. Focus and give full attention. The very first step to remembering anything is simple but powerful. Pay full attention. Most of the time, we don't actually forget. We simply never stored the information properly in the first place. Imagine this. You meet someone new, they tell you their name, but at that exact moment, your mind is half distracted. Maybe thinking about something else. Maybe checking your phone. Later, when you try to recall the name, it feels like it disappeared. But the truth is, your brain never saved it clearly. Memory starts with focus. If you want to remember something, you need to give it your undivided attention at the beginning. Here's a good example. Let's say you're studying English vocabulary. If you just look at the words while your mind is busy worrying about tomorrow's work, those words will not stay in your head. But if you pause, clear your mind, read each word slowly, and maybe even say it aloud, your brain locks onto it. Attention is like pressing the record button on a camera. If you don't press it, nothing gets captured. The same goes for your memory. One of the best ways to strengthen focus is by being fully present in the moment. When you're learning something important, remove distractions. Put your phone on silent, sit in a quiet space, and give the material your complete awareness. Even just 5 minutes of focused attention can be more powerful than 30 minutes of half-distracted reading. That's how memory works. Quality matters more than quantity. Another trick you can use is visualization. When you're paying attention, try to create a mental picture of what you're learning. For example, if you're trying to remember the word mountain, don't just say it. Imagine a tall, beautiful mountain in your mind. The clearer the image, the stronger your memory becomes. Why? Because your brain loves pictures, and linking words or ideas to images makes them easier to recall later. So, the first golden rule is this. Don't let important information slip away at the very beginning. When you hear, read, or see something you want to remember, stop, focus, and let it sink in. With practice, this habit alone can transform your memory power. Point 2. Use repetition wisely. If focus is the first step to remembering, repetition is the second. Our brains are not built to hold on to information after just one look, one listen, or one reading. That's why you might read a page in a book and forget most of it the next day. The secret to making information stick is to repeat it, but not in a boring or mechanical way. And instead, you need to use smart repetition, often called spaced repetition. Here's how it works. When you learn something new, go back to it soon after, maybe an hour later. Then review it the next day. Then again after 2 or 3 days, then a week, and so on. Each time you repeat, the memory becomes stronger, like adding extra layers of paint to a wall. By spacing out your reviews, your brain gets the signal that this information is important and worth keeping. Let's take an example with English vocabulary. Suppose you learn the word opportunity. You read it once today, then you write it in a sentence an hour later, then you review it before bed, and finally use it in a conversation tomorrow. After a few days, when you encounter the word again, you'll notice that you don't have to force yourself to remember. It comes naturally. That's the magic of repetition. Repetition also works best when you mix it with action. Don't just read or listen passively. Try writing the information down, teaching it to someone else, or testing yourself with flashcards. The more actively you repeat, the deeper the memory goes. For instance, if you're studying for an exam, don't just reread the textbook. Instead, close the book, explain the topic out loud as if you're teaching a friend, and then check what you missed. That kind of active recall makes your brain work harder. And the harder your brain works, the longer the memory stays. But here's a warning. Repetition does not mean cramming. Reading the same page 10 times in one sitting might make you feel busy, but it won't help you remember in the long run. Spreading your practice out over time is far more effective. Think of it like exercising. You don't build muscle by working out for 10 hours once a month. You build it by exercising regularly in shorter sessions. The same principle applies to memory. So, the second golden rule is repeat smartly, not endlessly. Use spaced repetition, review often, and mix in active recall. This simple strategy will lock knowledge into your long-term memory and make forgetting almost impossible. Point 3. Connect new information to what you already know. One of the most powerful ways to remember anything is by creating connections. Your brain loves links and patterns. When you learn something new, it becomes much easier to recall if you attach it to something you already know. Think of your memory like a giant web. Each new piece of information is a thread that can connect to the threads already in place. The more connections you make, the stronger the memory becomes. For example, let's say you're trying to remember the word photosynthesis. Instead of just memorizing the definition, connect it to something familiar. Plants, sunlight, and the food they produce. Picture a bright green leaf soaking up sunlight and converting it into energy. Now, every time you see a plant or the sun, your brain will trigger the memory of photosynthesis naturally. This is far more effective than repeating the definition mechanically. This technique also works beautifully with people's names. Meeting someone named Lily, connect her name to an image. A flower, for instance. Then imagine her holding a lily or walking in a garden. The mental picture creates a strong link between the name and the image, making it far easier to recall later. Without this connection, names often slip away quickly. You can also link new knowledge to your own experiences. If you're learning a new English phrase, think about a real situation where you could use it. By connecting abstract information to concrete experiences, your memory becomes more natural and effortless. Your brain is designed to remember meaningful stories and personal experiences better than random facts, so storytelling is a hidden memory booster. Another tip is to use analogies. If a new concept reminds you of something else you already understand, your brain can use the known concept as a bridge to learn the new one. For instance, understanding electricity as water flowing through pipes helps many people grasp the idea quickly because it connects to a familiar concept. So, the third golden rule is clear. Always link new information to what you already know. Don't memorize in isolation. Make connections, visualize relationships, and relate ideas to your life. The stronger the mental bridge you build, the easier it becomes to recall any time you need it. Memory is not just about storing facts. It's about creating a network where everything makes sense. Point 4. Add emotion to what you learn. If you want to remember something for a long time, add feelings to it. Our brains are emotional machines. Think about it. Do you still remember the happiest day of your childhood? Or maybe a sad moment that changed you? You didn't write it down. You didn't repeat it 10 times. But still, it lives in your memory. Why? Because emotions make memories stronger and unforgettable. Now, let's connect this to learning. If you study something in a boring way, your brain will not care about it. But if you add a little excitement, curiosity, or even humor, suddenly your brain pays attention and keeps it safe. For example, when learning a new English word like joyful, don't just memorize it. Close your eyes and remember a moment when you felt truly happy. Maybe celebrating your birthday with friends, or hearing good news. Link that feeling of happiness with the word joyful. Next time you see the word, your brain will pull up that memory with it. This works for everything: history lessons, science facts, even people's names. If someone makes you laugh, you'll never forget their name. If a teacher tells a story with emotion, you'll remember the lesson better. That's why great teachers always use stories. They connect facts to feelings. You can even create your own emotional tricks. Suppose you want to remember the word courage. Imagine a movie scene where the hero stands up against fear. Feel the bravery in that moment. Hear the music. See the expressions. By making the word alive with emotion, your brain will store it like a movie scene, not just plain text. Also, don't be afraid to use humor. Funny pictures, silly stories, or weird examples stick in memory much longer than dry facts. For instance, if you want to remember that ostrich is a bird, imagine it wearing sunglasses and running faster than a car. The funnier and crazier your imagination, the stronger the memory becomes. So the fourth golden rule is, learn with your heart, not just your head. Add emotion, create personal connections, and let your feelings guide the memory. When you study with joy, curiosity, or even a little bit of fun, remembering becomes natural. Because in the end, facts may fade, but emotions stay forever. Point 5. Turn learning into a story. Our brains are wired to love stories. Long before books, schools, or the internet, people passed knowledge through storytelling. That's why we can remember the plot of a movie we watched years ago, but we struggle to recall a list of 10 random facts we studied yesterday. The secret is simple. When information becomes part of a story, it sticks in our memory like glue. Think about it. If I give you 5 random words, dog, mountain, car, apple, and rain, you might forget them in 2 minutes. But if I tell you a story like this: one rainy morning, a dog climbed a mountain, and found an apple inside a car. Suddenly, the words become connected, and you can easily recall them. That's the power of storytelling. When you're learning, try to build a short story around the information. Let's say you're trying to remember English vocabulary words like hope, dream, and success. Instead of repeating them separately, create a story. A boy had a hope in his heart. He dreamed big every night, and one day he reached success. Now, the words are not just words. They're part of a meaningful journey. This method also makes studying fun. Imagine you need to learn history dates. Instead of forcing your brain to hold on to numbers, weave them into a story. Pretend the year is a character in a play, acting in an exciting drama. The more you bring the information to life, the more your memory will love it. Adding personal feelings to the story makes it even stronger. For example, if you're studying the word fearless, think of a story from your own life when you faced something scary but didn't give up. By mixing your personal emotions with the lesson, you create a memory that feels real and unforgettable. Another great trick is to exaggerate your stories. Make them bigger, funnier, or stranger than reality. If you want to remember the word giant, imagine a giant sitting in your classroom asking for homework help. The sillier the story, the easier your brain will recall it. So, the fifth golden rule is turn learning into a story. Don't treat facts like cold numbers or dry words. Wrap them in imagination, add emotions, and make them come alive. When you tell yourself a story, your brain listens carefully and memory stays longer. Sometimes forever. Point 6. Teach someone else what you learned. One of the strongest ways to remember something is to teach it to another person. When you explain an idea in your own words, your brain works harder, organizes the information, and makes the memory stronger. It's like shining a flashlight. You see every detail more clearly when you have to show it to others. Think about school days. Many times, you probably remembered lessons better after helping a friend before an exam. Why? Because teaching forces you to recall, explain, and connect the knowledge. Just reading is passive, but teaching is active. Your brain is not just storing the information, it's using it. You don't always need a classroom or a group of students. You can teach your little brother or sister, a friend, or even just yourself in front of a mirror. Pretend you are the teacher. Speak out loud and explain the topic step by step. You'll notice that the parts you forget or struggle with are the areas you need to review again. This process turns weak spots into strong memory points. Let's make it more fun. Suppose you just learned 3 new English words: brave, curious, and kind. Instead of repeating them silently, try telling a short story to your friend. Once there was a brave boy who was curious about the world and always kind to others. By teaching through storytelling, you double the memory power. First by learning, second by explaining. There's also an emotional side to teaching. When you share knowledge, you feel proud, confident, and useful. That positive emotion locks the information even deeper in your brain. Imagine how happy you feel when your friend says, "Wow, you explained it so well. I understand now." That moment of pride makes the memory unforgettable. If you don't have anyone to teach, you can even use your phone. Record yourself explaining the topic and play it back later. Hearing your own voice teaching will remind you not only of the lesson, but also of the feeling you had while sharing it. So the 6th golden rule is, if you want to remember, become a teacher. Don't keep knowledge locked inside. share it. The act of explaining makes your memory sharper and more confident. Learning is powerful, but teaching is magical. It turns information into wisdom and memory into something permanent. Point 7. Use all your senses. Memory becomes stronger when you involve not just your eyes or ears, but all of your senses. The more senses you use while learning, the deeper the memory is stored in your brain. Think about the times you walked into a bakery and instantly remembered childhood just from the smell of fresh bread, or when hearing a certain song brought back a memory from years ago. That's the magic of using your senses. When studying, don't only read silently, try to see, hear, speak, write, and even act out what you are learning. For example, if you are learning a new English word like delicious, don't just look at the letters. Say it out loud. Write it down in your notebook. Imagine the taste of your favorite food, and maybe even draw a small picture of it. Suddenly, that word is no longer just text. It becomes a living memory that touches your mouth, your eyes, your feelings, and even your imagination. This works in every subject. If you're memorizing history, don't only read dates. Say them aloud like a storyteller. Imagine the events happening in front of your eyes, and maybe walk around while repeating them. Movement adds another sense, your body, making the memory stronger. Emotions also connect to senses. For instance, if you study while listening to gentle music, your brain links the lesson to the sound. Later, when you hear the same music, the memory comes back. Some people even chew a certain gum flavor while studying, and chew the same flavor during a test. It helps the brain recall faster because the taste is connected to the lesson. Another fun way is to act it out. Suppose you're learning the word angry. Don't just memorize. Make an angry face, clench your fists, and say the word. When your body acts it out, the feeling stays with the word. The sillier you make it, the more unforgettable it becomes. So, the seventh golden rule is don't depend on only one sense. Combine sight, sound, touch, taste, and movement. The more senses you involve, the stronger and more emotional your memory becomes. After all, life's most unforgettable moments are not just seen. They are felt, heard, tasted, and lived. Point 8. Practice recall, not just review. Most people think reading something again and again is enough to remember it. But here's the truth. Reviewing is not the same as recalling. If you want your memory to grow strong, you must practice bringing the information out of your brain, not just putting it in. That's called active recall. Let me give you an example. Imagine you read a story in English. If you close the book and try to retell the story in your own words, you're forcing your brain to work. At first, it might feel hard. You may forget some parts, but that's good. That struggle is actually your brain making the memory stronger. If you only keep rereading the story, your brain stays lazy because the words are right in front of you. But when you test yourself, your brain becomes active and the memory gets locked inside. Here's a simple way to practice recall. After studying, close your notebook and ask yourself, what did I just learn? Say it out loud or write it down without looking at your notes. Even if you make mistakes, your brain learns faster and remembers longer. Flashcards are another great tool. Write the word on one side and the meaning on the other. Instead of just flipping them quickly, test yourself. Look at the word and try to recall the meaning before checking. This little challenge is what makes the memory powerful. Active recall also works beautifully with emotions. Let's say you're trying to remember the word hopeful. Instead of repeating it silently, pause and recall a time in your life when you truly felt hopeful. Bring that memory into your heart, smile, and then say the word aloud. The emotional recall will glue the word to your memory. You can also practice recall while walking, cooking, or even before sleeping. Ask yourself small questions. What 3 new words did I learn today? What was the story I read yesterday? What are the main points from my class? These little tests make your memory muscles grow stronger every day. So, the 8th golden rule is, don't just review, recall. Challenge your brain, ask yourself questions, and pull out the answers from inside. It may feel harder than just rereading, but that's exactly why it works. Struggle makes the memory stick. And over time, you'll be amazed at how much you can remember without looking at your notes. Point 9. Stay healthy. Your body feeds your memory. Many people think memory is only about the brain, but the truth is, your whole body affects how well you remember. If you don't take care of your health, your memory suffers too. Think of your brain like a computer. It needs power, rest, and proper care to work at its best. The first thing your memory loves is sleep. Have you ever noticed that after a good night's sleep, you can recall things more easily? But when you stay up late and wake up tired, even simple facts feel hard to remember. That's because when you sleep, your brain is busy organizing everything you learned during the day. It's like a librarian putting books on the right shelves. Without sleep, your library is a mess, and you forget more. So if you want a strong memory, respect your sleep. Food is another big factor. Your brain is hungry for energy, and it loves healthy food, like fruits, vegetables, fish, nuts, and plenty of water. On the other hand, junk food, too much sugar, or skipping meals makes your brain slow and foggy. Imagine trying to drive a car without enough fuel. The same happens when you don't give your brain the right nutrition. Exercise also plays a magical role. Moving your body increases blood flow to the brain, which means more oxygen, more energy, and sharper memory. You don't need to run a marathon, even a short daily walk. Some stretching or dancing to your favorite song can wake up your brain and make learning easier. And don't forget emotions. Stress and anxiety are like heavy weights on your memory. When you're worried, your brain gets stuck in fear mode and can't focus. That's why it's important to relax, breathe deeply, and keep your mind calm. A peaceful mind remembers better than a restless one. So the 9th golden rule is, take care of your body if you want a strong memory. Sleep well, eat healthy, move your body, drink water, and keep your stress low. When your body is happy, your brain works like magic. Your memory is not just in your head. It lives in every part of your lifestyle. Point 10. Believe in your memory and stay positive. The last and most important rule for remembering everything is not about books, techniques, or tricks. It's about your belief. If you keep telling yourself, I have a bad memory, I can't remember names, I always forget, your brain starts to believe it. But if you say, my memory is getting better every day, I can remember if I practice, your brain listens too. Your mindset is the key that unlocks your memory power. Think about this. When a child is learning to walk, they fall many times. But they never say, oh, walking is too hard. I'll never learn. Instead, they get up, try again, and eventually succeed. Memory works the same way. Sometimes you'll forget. Sometimes you'll struggle. But if you stay positive and keep practicing, your brain will grow stronger. Confidence also adds emotion, and emotion strengthens memory. Imagine you're studying for an exam. If you feel nervous and keep thinking, "I'll forget everything," your stress blocks your brain. But if you breathe deeply, smile, and say, "I studied well, I will remember," your brain opens up like a flower in sunlight. That little shift in attitude can change everything. A great way to build belief is by celebrating small wins. Did you remember a new word today? Clap for yourself. Did you recall someone's name correctly? Give yourself credit. Every little success tells your brain, "See, I can remember." These positive signals build confidence, and confidence builds memory. Another helpful tip is to visualize success. Before sleeping, close your eyes and imagine yourself remembering perfectly during your test, your speech, or your conversation. Feel the pride, hear the applause, and see the smile on your face. Your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It will start preparing you to succeed in real life. So, the 10th golden rule is, believe in your memory and stay positive. Techniques and strategies are important, but without confidence, they lose power. When you trust yourself, practice with joy, and keep a hopeful heart, your memory will surprise you with its strength. Remember, your brain is not weak. It is like a muscle. The more you train it with focus, repetition, stories, senses, and positivity, the stronger it becomes. Believe in yourself, and your memory will become a gift you can use for a lifetime. Final words. So, my friends, we've reached the end of today's journey on how to remember everything. You've learned 10 golden rules: focus, repetition, connection, emotion, storytelling, teaching, using your senses, recalling, staying healthy, and believing in yourself. These are not just tips. They are powerful habits that can change the way your brain works forever. Always remember, your memory is not weak. It only needs training, care, and positivity. If you start practicing even 2 or 3 of these steps today, you'll already see a big difference in how much you can remember. Step by step, your brain will become sharper, stronger, and more confident. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 10 tips will you try first? Share your answer in the comments. I'd love to know. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Impressive Learning English for more simple, powerful lessons every week. Until next time, keep believing, keep practicing, and keep growing.